she's in a key role in Washington, D.C. in terms of the project going forward. As she mentioned in passing, I chair the Budget Subcommittee in the California State Senate on resources, environmental protection, energy, and transportation. That Budget Subcommittee has responsibility in the State Senate for reviewing high-speed rail authority funding in the Senate side of the state capitol. And as Rich mentioned in passing, he chairs the comparable Budget Subcommittee on the State Assembly side. So in both the State Assembly and State Senate, the budget review process is an integral part of the work we do. Additionally, I sit on the Senate Transportation and Housing Committee as well as on the Select Committee on High-Speed Rail. And I believe, Assemblymember Gordon, you sit on the comparable Select Committee in the State Assembly and the working group as well. So as Congresswoman Eshoo mentioned, all three of us, I think, are well positioned to try and play a constructive role here. Vic, you had a question?
Yeah, Senator, is this plan, this proposal, something that was discussed initially by the authority and rejected, or simply one of those proposals that was put on hold?
Well, there's been no shortage of discussion over the last 2 years, and there's been no shortage of proposals coming forward. I think, I can't speak for my colleagues, but I've repeatedly asked, frankly, I've tried to step back and play a role as an honest broker, given my role as a state senator representing 900,000 folks in 13 cities and towns, and I've asked repeatedly for a plan that would comprise, I've asked repeatedly for a plan that would contain the elements that we think of as high-speed rail done right. That plan hasn't been forthcoming. At some point, it seemed to me it was appropriate for me and colleagues who shared the same view to step up and say, here is our description of what high-speed rail done right looks like, because it has been, I think, increasingly evident that if we wait for that proposal to come from high-speed rail, we could be waiting a while. I think the bottom line message I want to convey is, if it isn't done right, it isn't going to get done. That's really the message we're trying to send.
Was this, though, rejected by the powers that determined what...
Well, we are 2 years plus into the process since the passage of a bond measure, and we are still hearing conversation about an aerial viaduct up and down the peninsula. We are still hearing proposals to push well beyond the right-of-way up and down the corridor. And there is an EIR being prepared as we meet and speak today for a project scope that is well beyond anything that is either affordable or acceptable along the corridor.
So how do you see this blended system working? They use the same set of tracks, or how would this work?
I'm going to ask any of us who has an engineering degree to step forward and respond to that. Apparently not. There are folks here today who can speak to that, and in your packets there is a contact list, a list of resources, folks that we would encourage you to call. The point here that we've underscored is there's no need to do it twice. There is an opportunity, using essentially the same rail system, to arrive in San Jose and head north on what we've described as a blended system that integrates high-speed rail with a 21st century Caltrain. Will it work with the system we have behind us today? No. Can it, will it, and should it work if there is an upgraded 21st century Caltrain? Yes. And want to underscore a passing mention in the statement. Same travel times, no loss of speed. The 120 plus mile per hour speed that has been projected for high-speed rail can be maintained with a blended system.
Well, what's the prospect of federal dollars coming in with a budget announcement that they would cut high-speed rail out of the federal budget?
Well, I think that there's a mixed message in the country today. There are many Republican governors that have rejected the administration's dollars outright, excuse me, for their respective states. California has not done that. And I think that there's something very important for all of us to appreciate here. Number one, all of my constituents pay federal tax dollars. They send those dollars to Washington. California does not receive back all that we send. But we certainly have a claim on the dollars, the tax dollars, federal tax dollars that my constituents pay. So there are members of the Bay Area delegation that have consistently said, we are not going to reject funds coming to California. If Florida is going to give up money, or Indiana or Illinois is going to give up money, we want federal resources coming to California. We believe that we can make optimum use of these scarce resources, because they're always difficult to secure. Vic, because there's competition for federal dollars. There always have been, there always will be. But that we take a very small amount that will really build out and upgrade Caltrain that would then blend with whatever made, the first huge amount of dollars that were brought into or assigned to California is for the Central Valley. And so, as Senator Simitian said, why duplicate a system? Why tear up the peninsula? So I think that the attractiveness of a small amount of money will go a long way and honor what is taking place and the dollars that have been awarded in other places in the state. Keep the following in mind as well, that unless this corridor from San Jose to San Francisco is really spoken to and done right, we will not have a system in California. You cannot complete a system if this major corridor is left out of it. We think that we have a vision and a very good plan for this corridor, and that we will save huge sums of money. And jobs are attached to this too. And that's a very important thing. Some people in our community say, well, that's an excuse to do this or do that. We have to take that very seriously when our unemployment is what it is. But I would rather go for jobs that would be created in a short period of time than jobs that are elusive and may never, ever develop in this area. So I think that we can, I think the Secretary understands that we have had the problems that we've had here in this area, and has been very committed on the first part of the plan with the PTC system, and we will work on the next leg of it. But I think it's important to pursue federal dollars for this, and I will. Some people don't agree with me here. Some of my constituents don't agree, but my constituents pay tax dollars. I think it's my responsibility to help bring some of that home and apply it in a way that's going to unify this entire region and make sense for future generations.